All right, everybody, let's just settle into a nice, comfortable seated position. And yeah, like I said, you just make yourself comfortable. I think that is probably more important for the practice than sort of sitting with the hands in the right mudra, et cetera, et cetera. You all know what that is by now. So while we're on Zoom, we're not sitting in front of any great lamas, just you can have your hands wherever you want, just resting comfortably on your thighs, in your lap. And particularly if those of you who have injuries or are not well, it's important just to make yourself comfortable and important to be relaxed, you know. So feet, if you're sitting at your computer, have your feet flat on the floor. If you're in the cross-legged position and you are having any pain in your hips or your knees or tightness in your hips, you can raise your sits bones, like put a little cushion underneath your coccyx and put some cushions underneath either knee. So that just kind of helps modify that sitting position. So shoulders are aligned with the hips. And imagine your spine is a string of pearls of light stretching from the base all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. So really try and lengthen the spine, putting some space in between the vertebrae. And just a little bit of stretching in the back of the neck. Take a nice deep breath. And now really try and imagine your ears are aligned with your shoulders. And breathe. And just settle, go inwards. If there are any sounds that you can hear that you are noticing, just allow them to be there. So trying not to follow with the mind. And then notice the thoughts that are arising. And just allow those thoughts to be there. Try not to criticize or follow a story or make up a story. And then bring to mind all the people of your life, the loved ones. We did this quite extensively this morning, trying to think of our friends, our enemies, and our strangers as all. I mean, we just do have the right to be happy. As it says in the Constitution in the United States, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I'm assuming that it means everybody equally. I think they can all change place at any time, these relationships. And they're all equal in their extraordinary capacity for Buddhahood. So I think we'll do this meditation this evening for all these people of our life and by extension, all sentient beings. And keep in mind our precious Hin, who I'm assuming by now has entered hospice. So I will check in with Annie Tenzin Lama to find out where she's at. But just send her lots of love and light, praying that she's out of pain. And that if her time to pass is soon, that it's peaceful and blissful. So I think there is no negativity that can't be purified, and this purification process is basically a psychological one. We create negativity with our mind so we can equally change it by creating positivity instead. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all past lives, and think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma. We experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions. So having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. We cannot bear the thought of the future suffering that we ourselves will experience. So we know from our present suffering, we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove the karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So think like this. I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. Also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest that are the cause of why we harm others, and then think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to the power of reliance. So we turn to the Buddha, Vajrasattva, who we see as a doctor rather than a higher power. And we're using his methods to heal ourselves. We're relying upon his methods. So you imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. And like I say, you can imagine this is a light-bodied being, a holy being, purifying being. You can imagine this is your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of radiant, blissful white light. So imagine this kind of radiating on the crown of your head like a beacon. He's sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion, has a beautiful radiant face. His eyes are long and peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion. And their being crossed represents the union of these two, and this symbolizes enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So we have this little section on compassion. And in order to develop compassion, we need to rely upon other beings, the very beings we have harmed, and those who have harmed us, by developing compassion for them. So think particularly of someone you've harmed recently and in the past, and then in general, all beings we have ever harmed since beginningless time. And then think of those who have harmed you and just have compassion for them, because the harm they've caused you is going to result in suffering for them sometime down track. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for the benefit of all these beings, and think, I must purify for their sake. So now we come to the power of the remedy, and this is the medicine doing the practice of purification. We start with the body, and Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart, and it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, filling you completely. And it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid, and this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left, as you recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dida me boa, Sitokaya me boa, Sipokaya me boa, Anorakta me boa, Sawasiti mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me, Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is completely purified, and think there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. But just imagine all the different ways in which you can benefit others. It could be just even simply offering somebody a meal. And next is the purification of the speech, and Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and it arcs around and forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech, and this overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So just imagine all the gossip and the harsh speech and the useless speech and lying and talking badly about others behind their backs, all the inappropriate speech. All of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as you recite the mantra. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakami Boa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Didu Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hum Pe. So again, feel really happy that your speech is now completely purified, and imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech. So always think about what you write as being your speech, because it represents what you are putting out. So think about carefully what you put on social media before you put it up there. And next is a purification of the mind, and Vajrasattva now very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So just the same as when you walk into a pitch black room and flick on that switch, the light instantly dispels the darkness. So the same, the light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, and all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, so all your attachment and neediness and bitterness and grudges, all of this instantly dispelled upon contact with the light. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hum Pe. So again, be delighted that all the delusions, which are the source of all of our own suffering and the cause of why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified. And think now, there is no space in your heart for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. And next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. And imagine that Vajrasattva very happily sends light and nectar and fills you completely and eradicates all those subtle, very subtle imprints of negative energy. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta meboa sabasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satva a hompe vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita dita meboa sutokaya meboa sipokaya meboa anurakta meboa sabasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Didu Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sabasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hompe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satva a hompe vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita dita meboa sutokaya meboa sipokaya meboa anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hum He. For now, feel you're completely purified. There's not one atom of negativity in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. So now we come to the power of resolve, and this is the fourth step in the purification process, and a really crucial one. This is this determination to not harm with our body and our speech and our mind. And this also includes the harm that we do to ourselves with our body, our speech, and our mind. We have to start with ourselves. As we were doing this morning in the meditation, we need to learn to love ourselves first before we can then start offering love to others. And it's really, somehow it's quite a difficult practice, is this compassion towards self, because we're just so, in the West, I think particularly, we're just very good at criticizing ourselves, giving ourselves a hard time. So think about that, maybe work a little bit on the harm that we do to ourselves. I mean, you can say that by harming others, you're harming yourself, but think about the harm that you do to yourself every time you say, oh, that was such a stupid thing to do. And the things that we say to ourselves, the stories that run through our heads about ourselves, if you were to speak to a 3-year-old like that, you would feel ashamed. So we should be a little bit careful how we handle ourselves. So think about that maybe between now and tomorrow, being kind to yourself. Have compassion for yourself and do something nice for yourself. Maybe this can be your homework. For those of you who like having a mani-pedi, go have a mani-pedi or a massage or a walk through the woods or whatever makes you feel good. So Vajrasattva, imagine, is delighted with us and wanting to merge with your mind, melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown. And think, my teacher's body, speech, and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. And next, Rinpoche recommends to meditate on the emptiness of the three circles. In emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma, and there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level your mind understands emptiness, just place it there for a moment, and we can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. We can also think the way things appear to me may not necessarily be the way they actually exist. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this practice to all living beings, and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. And then think for all of our precious teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Maybe a little while, like when, probably not in a couple of months, you know. But anyway, I think it seems to be that it might be. Anyway, just think, swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche's unmistaken reincarnation. And then for any of your own teachers, your own precious teachers who help us and teach us and kind of show us the way, teach us all the different bits and pieces of this Dharma that we know so we can practice on our own. Okay, everybody. Good night. Lots of love. Particularly many thanks for those of you on the East Coast, because I know it's really late for you guys. So thank you very much. Lots of love, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.